Traders, today we're going to be talking about swing trading technical analysis for GBPUSD. As you can see, GBPUSD is currently at a support level right now. So the next question is, what's going to happen next? This is what I'll be talking to you about in this video. I'll be sharing my analysis with you all, so obviously you can use that to your own personal benefit. And if you find the content that I'll be sharing with you today useful, make sure you just hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification, and drop us a like, especially if the content is useful. So with that basically said and done, we're just going to get straight into it. Okay, welcome back traders. I hope your trade so far has been going really well. And today we're going to be talking about GBPUSD. We're going to be looking at opportunities that we can see within that particular market at the moment. As you can see on the daily chart, we are currently at a support level in regards to GBPUSD. I'll show that to you guys now. So this is the level in question, okay, highlighted in yellow. And that level is 1.3140. Okay, so that is the support level of GBPUSD. The normal thinking behind this will be expecting price at some point today or possibly in the coming days or weeks for price to do something like this, okay, which is natural, right? Which is natural. But however, what I'm going to be talking to you about today, in all fairness, is to make sure that we just don't do random things in the market and that everything we do makes sense before we actually do it. So with that said and done, the first thing that I'll be bringing on board to assist with that process is we're going to bring on the periodic volume profile, otherwise known as PVP. So we're just going to drop that on board right now, okay? And what it is that we can see is that where this support level is, okay, price has obviously bounced off that. It's on its way back down into it again, as we can see, right? But at the same time, we can also see that we have a bunch of low volume nodes in this area as well. And these are areas that we're going to need to be mindful of in regards to what market is doing and how market is basically doing it. So at this point, my thinking in regards to taking positions in this current market will be one of two things, right? Will be first and foremost, I would want to see a swing high knocked out. And the swing high that I'm talking about will be this one right here. So that is 1.34731. Now, if that level is knocked out, that will give me a certain level of confidence to say that I'm expecting GBPUSD to push upwards. Now, we are on the daily chart, and remember, this is a swing trading channel, so we're basically in it for a hot minute. We just don't get in and out on a 5-minute, 10-minute or 15-minute. We're doing longer plays here. So you're just gonna have to bear that in mind. If you're someone that likes to trade the lower time frame, then in all fairness, the analysis that I'm showing you right now, it might not work for you. You're going to need to be on a much higher time frame, with the bare minimum being a day, and entries and exits will be planned on the 1 hour or on the 15 minutes. But this is just a general broader view as to what's happening right now in the market. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and also as well, I'm not a financial advisor, so it's important that you know that, right? I'm not giving you financial advice. Everything you do is on you. So with that side of things covered and the disclaimer covered, right, we notice in this area right here, so I'm just going to highlight that for you. In this area right here, we have a low volume node, right? So we have a low volume node at the support level, okay? Which basically, in my opinion, increases the probability that there will be a bounce at that level. Whether that bounce comes today or tomorrow, that's yet to be seen. But as it stands, I'll be expecting a bounce at that level. So I'm going to highlight this low volume node for you, and you can see exactly where that is sitting. So that is literally right on the support level, and we've had 3 touches on that level so far. So let me just highlight that out to you again. So we have a touch here, and another touch here. So price has rejected that low volume node area 3 times. Now, in saying that, it's important I say this. I've got a bunch of videos on how I use the volume profile to assist me with my trades. So make sure you go check it out. There's going to be a thumb for that at the end of this video. And obviously this video hasn't ended yet, so make sure you just stay put as I continue with the presentation. So we have these levels, right? We have these levels down here that price has gone into. Price right now as it stands is in a downward trend. So this candle, the new daily candle that we have right now, it is coming down. The question is, when will it be a good time for us to think about riding price to the upside? Now, in my opinion, we're going to need a swing high taken out. That swing high is this level that I mentioned up here. So let me just point that out to you guys again. So that is the swing high right here. Okay, that's the one that I want gone before I even think about taking buys. Now, you can turn around and say, hang on one sec, what you're saying here makes no sense, because we could get in for a buy right now and we could get all of this. You're absolutely correct in your thinking. But once again, I need to remind you that I'm a swing trader. I am not a day trader. So because I am not a day trader and I am a swing trader, I only look for absolute confirmations in my trades before I jump on. I don't use the 15 minutes. I don't use the 1 hour. I use the day, and at the lowest is going to be the 4 hour to actually decide what direction I'm going to be facing in. And in terms of execution of that trade, I might hop onto the 1 hour or the 15 minutes just to make sure that I'm getting it at the best possible price. So that's why we're not doing it that way. Other videos will be telling you, as soon as it gets here, put in your buy and wait for it to ride up. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we want to be a little bit more sensible, and we want to kind of move away from the speculative behavior in markets. We kind of want to just make sure that we've really thought things through. Now, why is this swing high up here so important in terms of why I want this swing high taken out? Why do I want this swing high taken out? There actually is another one. As a matter of fact, I'm going to draw to your attention. Reason why I want this swing high taken out, and let me just clean all this stuff up so it just doesn't get too busy. We have another low volume node in this area right here, and that will be the September's volume profile. And that basically says that price likes to reject, or price has rejected off this zone before, meaning this swing high that I pointed out, which is right here. It has rejected off that level before. So I now know, okay, this is a good place. So this level right here is a good level for me to consider taking buys from. Just going to make that purple, right? It's a good level for me to consider taking buys from. And also as well, we have another low volume node also in this area. So this would be in the August volume profile. So if you go into the August volume profile, the area that I've just highlighted right now, we can see that we have another low volume node. It's actually 2 in 1, but we're just going to count the whole thing. It's just one low volume node area. So I'm just going to highlight that area out. And we can see right here that obviously it kind of corresponds with this month's value area low in terms of where price kind of bounced from. So in my opinion, how I would basically look at this, how I would use this level, if I wanted to get in early, I didn't want to take longs from down here, and I definitely didn't want to take longs from up here. I think up here is the sensible approach, by the way. But say you don't want to take longs from up here, right? Ideally, you're looking for longs in this area, and you could possibly entertain a long in this area right here, which is 1.33715. That too would make sense. That's not the one I will go for. I will go for the 1.35050. That's the one I would go for. But the one that you will go for, if you was to entertain this idea in any way, shape, or form, you'd be looking at 1.33715. That will be the level that you'd be looking at. Alternatively, you could just be like, it's come to this level, so it must go up, right? And then you could tap in at 1.31401, and then you just see how that goes, right? You just see how that one day goes. So now, with that said, we've looked at moves that we can take now, but there is an elephant in the room that we also need to address. So let's highlight that area as well. So first, let me just clean all this stuff up, because I do like to try to keep my charts nice and tidy and just keep just the relevant information that we need, and that will be the levels in question. So purples are entries, yellows are levels that we are expecting to see some type of price reaction, and that's that for now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to zoom out a little bit like this, right, to this level right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply a trend line. Now my trend lines, I apply them in a particular kind of way. So most people will apply their trend lines like following these swing lows all the way up, and then clearly you would have seen a trend line broken at this level right here. You'd have seen a trend line broken, and you'd be like, okay, cool, we can start selling. Then you would have been in limbo in this area for the longest, right? Maybe you'd be going profitable now, maybe you won't, who knows, right? I don't like to do my trend lines like that, and there isn't one way to do trend lines, by the way, right? So how I'm doing it, I'm not saying it's the gold standard, it's just my personal preference. So how I would normally do a trend line is I do it from point A to point B. So I'm not looking for 3 touches, 4 touches, or any amount of touches. I just need it to touch from one point and touch tap to another point, okay? And that trend line gets adjusted every single time I believe a swing low has been created, until the trend line makes no sense anymore, at which point we'll be using another form of trend line. So in this case, this trend line right here, rather than drawing it to this location, rather than drawing it to this location, which too makes sense, because you could have gotten all of this and ridden it all the way down. That would have been great. My trend line is going to go all the way here. My trend line is going to go all the way to that location over there, and we're waiting for price to break that trend line. Then I'm going to do another trend line. So I'm going to make this one red, right? I'm going to make this one red because this is a selling trend line. And then we're going to do another one for a buying trend line. So rather than try to make it all level, touch everything, we're just going to do it to this level right here, because that is the most logical place for that trend line to go. And we're going to make this one blue. So now we have our trend lines in place, right? So we have our selling trend line down here, and we have our buying trend line up here. And we know all the levels of interest to us, okay? And that buying trend line, that might need to be adjusted in regards to the level that I've put in, which is 1.35050. So that will need to be adjusted in regards to how market moves in the situation that is currently in right now. So now with that said, I was thinking about dropping on the anchored volume profile, but there isn't much data that I can derive from that. So the next thing that we're going to do is identify this structure. We do have a flat surface, and we're going to hold it like this for now. And then what we have is, we can say at the top side we have a range, which makes our decision down here that much more important. If price closes under this level right here of 1.31401, we would need to consider looking at sales. So I wasn't thinking about bringing in the anchored volume profile, but I am going to bring in the anchored volume profile because we actually need it right now. And why do we need it? Because we've identified a range in this area right here. So anchored volume profile supports everything that I've just laid on not too long ago in regards to what's happening in the market. So if you're unfamiliar with the volume profile, let me do my best to explain it to you now, okay? So the volume profile, this is how it works. This is the volume by price, right? Volume by price based on the level of activities taking place in the market right now from passive and active traders. Now, this particular view that you're looking at is one of 3 views that you can get in the volume profile. We have this view, okay, which is the total. So it's just telling me buyers and sellers grouped as one, right? So right now we're on total, like I mentioned. So let's do buyers and sellers. So as you can see, we can see the difference between the buyers and the sellers in this view right now. The next view that we're going to go down to is going to be the delta. Now the delta is going to tell us who's in control at any given levels, okay? So the different shades of reds will be telling you it is more or less the sellers, right? So we can see at this level right here, we have a lot of sellers. There's a lot of sellers in this area right here. As a matter of fact, there's sellers all the way down. And at this level right here, we have a group of buyers, passive buyers, aggressive buyers. They could have got in here or they could be waiting over here, okay? Either way, they're in the game right now. So that's one way of looking at the volume profile. So let me put it back to total because I prefer that view, okay? So then in this area right here of the volume profile, we have the value area high, okay? This area is a super important level, and it's going to make sense very shortly as to why I've put this trend line where I put it. So this is the value area high of the volume profile, an important level. This here is the value area low of the volume profile. This entire area, this little box area right here, is called the high value area, and this level right here is the point of control. This is where the vast majority of everyone in here right now, this is where they're all doing business. They're all doing business at this level, or they're all waiting for business to be done at that level, okay? So now that we've gotten this out the way, this area right here and this area over here are considered the value area lows, all right? Now, the relationship between the value area lows and the high value area is price is always attracted to point of control. Now, point of control moves around the market, right? And you can always tell where a point of control might be or where it previously was. So point of control are usually in high value nodes areas. So these are the high value node areas. This is where most buyers are sitting, okay? Most buyers are aggressively sitting, whether they're selling or buying, they're in the high value nodes. The low value volume nodes is where you have least amount of traders located in that location. So this is a low volume node area right here, a low volume node area right here, and a low volume node area right here. Now, the reason why why I'm pointing all this out to you is based on where the low volume node is, you can expect certain things to happen very, very, very quickly. So for example, my strategy is this in a nutshell. Low volume node areas are areas that normally act as support or resistance in the market naturally, right? Hence why I like to plan my trades around those areas, supposing to high volume node areas. Also as well, either price will bounce off a low volume node area or it would rapidly move through it. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm going to highlight that out for you now. So if I draw a box in this area right here, you can see in this area, price moved aggressively through it. And we have another low volume node area down here as well, okay? And you will also see that price moved aggressively through it. Now, in low volume node areas, what happens is price will aggressively move through it and then actively tap in. And this is what we are seeing in this area right now, okay? So price has moved through the low volume node and it's now just tapping in. So it's tapped in here, it's tapped in here, and it's tapped in here. And it could break down and fly down, right? This is why the trend line is there. So if it does break, I know what to do and when to do it, right? So let's get rid of all of these for now. So in this area right here, right? So in this area right here, we have a low volume node, okay, right? So price breaking through is going to rapidly move downwards. We are looking at this on the day. So if you go into a lower time frame, an hour, we might actually be able to catch it properly. And then at the bare minimum, we could ride price down to point of control, this level right here, okay? So I'm just put a little price label on that and we're looking at 1.26856. So that is the current level of point of control right now, all right? Now, if price makes it past point of control, price is going to blast through to this low volume node area down here, okay, before it decides if it's going to bounce from the value area low, which is this level right here, all right? So I've just given you a strong case as to why this trend line is there, okay? So you just know that I'm just not putting things on a chart just to make it look cool, right? Why we will be making decisions if certain conditions are met. For example, price closes below the selling trend line, which is this trend line over here, the red one, okay? And what we will be expected to do if price begins to move upwards in terms of how we will plan our trades. Why? Because we have a low volume node sitting in this area. So the natural thing is price is to reject off this level right here or blast through it. If it blasts through it, we tap in down here and we ride it to the upside. Simple stuff once you know it, but super complicated when you don't. So with that said, guys, right, I hope you found the content that I've shared with you useful. Make sure you check out the thumb, which you're going to be seeing now in regards to the volume profile, because that is one of the tools that I use a lot with my analysis, okay? So make sure you go through that all. If you have any questions, any thoughts, better ways I could do things, or just share your own personal take on certain things, just drop that in the comment section. I will look at that and I will respond to it if I need to respond to it, or at the bare minimum, I'll just drop either a like or a heart on your comment, depending on how cool it is. And if you find the content useful, if the content is for you, right, if it is for you, then naturally hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification and drop us a like. And with that said, I will see you all on the next one.